seriously? All right, don't go anywhere. Come on, let's go. Let's get it home. Let's get it home. I want to get some energy. I'm ready to go to sleep if you guys don't start jumping. Who's born a champ? Who's born a champ? Luther's born a champ. All right. Thank you, guys. I'm happy to entertain myself. Welcome, welcome. I'm Dr. Yachter, if we haven't met. Now that our heart rate is up, ready to have some fun, turn to your neighbor and say, I'm ready to have some fun. Turn to your other neighbor and say, wake up. All right. All right, so how many of you guys have been to a workshop before? Raise your hand if this is your first workshop. Good, everybody give them a big hand. Awesome, thank you. Okay, so how many of you guys, you said you were at workshops before? Raise your hand. Keep your hands up. You've been to 3 or more workshops. Keep your hands. If you've been to 5 or more workshops, 10 or more, 20 or more, 50 or more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 75 or more, 100 or more. Deborah, because she's the only one who can put her hand up. After you've been a patient here for 18 years, you can do the same. It's okay. Every workshop, you keep learning something new. You keep learning and growing. That's why we have a saying, when you stop learning, you stop growing, and when you stop growing, you start what? Dying. So every workshop, you're always going to get something. Don't let the titles fool you. If the title seems the same, I guarantee you got something new you're going to learn tonight. How many of you guys have been to Heart Smart Nutrition before? Okay, so tonight we're going to light it up. You're going to learn something new. And it's just a lot. It's like drinking from a fire hose. So just put on your seatbelts, and if you need to take some notes, you can do that. And let's take a look and see what we got coming up here. This month is National Heart Health Awareness Month, and that's why we're doing Heart Smart Nutrition. Next month is when you start seeing all the pink ribbons, and it's National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So next month we have our cancer prevention workshop, so please dial it in, October 17th at 6 p.m. This is a life-changing and life-saving workshop, so please make sure you have it in your schedule. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, but I know there's somebody, pretty much everybody in this room at least knows somebody who's been affected, or if you've lost loved ones, or you know people. Cancer takes 1 out of every 2 men's lives and 1 out of every 3 women. So it's not getting better, it's getting worse. There's more awareness of it, but the disease just continues to destroy lives. And it's 70 to 85% of everything we're going to talk about tonight, and with cancer, completely treatable, reversible, and preventable. It's not your genes, doesn't matter who in your family has cancer or heart disease, you can overcome that. It's called epigenetics. That means your lifestyle choices will either turn on those disease genes, or they'll turn them off. So tonight we're going to learn what to do to turn them off. Okay, so let's get on with the educational component, because there's a lot of myths regarding cholesterol and heart disease, and we need to start to debunk that and kind of rattle your cage a little bit. And I'd really like to start off kind of like with a bang, but I want you to understand that it doesn't really matter how old you are. You could be older, you could be younger. You still don't know if you have heart disease building in you by how you feel. Okay, the definition of health is not how you feel. It's not simply the absence of infirmity or disease. Today we know, by way of every medical journal, that a silent process called inflammation could be terminating your life literally within the next few hours. And you would have no idea. It happens to athletes. They drop dead on basketball courts and football fields, right? Sudden cardiac death. So I want you to understand that you have to live your life in a proactive manner as if this could happen. I'm not out of fear, but just being proactive with the knowledge that we give you tonight. This clip is a cardiologist who's talking about his experience with the different ages today in heart disease and what he sees. So I want you to listen to what he has to say.
Heart disease. It's projected that 1 out of every 4 people in the United States will die from it. And more younger people are being diagnosed every day. We find out more in today's Health Matters. Age is only a number. That's how the old saying goes. And when it comes to heart disease, that's a fact.
This past month saw individual 27 with cardiovascular pain and blockage. and we see it in 90-year-olds.
As a cardiologist, Dr. Edward Palank warns heart disease can strike anyone at any stage of life, no matter how active they are.
Just because I'm 40 and I'm playing tennis and I'm active doesn't mean I can't have a cardiovascular problem.
While heart disease is often thought of as an older person's problem, Dr. Palank says young people need to be especially on guard.
There's a lot of denial. Not gonna.
So now he's saying it's not going to happen to me. So the three most dangerous words that could ever come out of my mouth or your mouth is, I feel fine. Got that? I feel fine. What does that tell you about your health? Nothing. It's not going to happen to me just because we're exercising, just because this, that. You just never know. And so, there's an old saying that we don't guess, we test. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as the evening goes on. So let's start debunking a couple of myths here. Number one, there's zero correlation with high cholesterol and heart disease. And I'm going to lay out the research for you from medical journals. So I'm sure everyone in here is either taking cholesterol medication or knows somebody who's taking cholesterol medication. What you're going to learn tonight is there's no scientific evidence to support the necessity for that. In fact, taking cholesterol medications does way more harm than good. There's also the fact that cholesterol meds actually increase your risk of heart failure. That's right, they're finding today that people who take cholesterol meds are at a greater risk of heart failure and heart disease than people who don't. And actually, if you're looking to lower your cholesterol levels, even if you stop taking your cholesterol medication or you want to stop taking your medication and you realize it's not a good idea, now you're looking for other alternatives to bring your cholesterol low, that may not be the best strategy either. Okay, so again, lowering your cholesterol level, a low cholesterol level does not necessarily equate to good health, if that makes sense. Are you tracking with me? Okay, because it increases your risk of cancer, Alzheimer's, and early death. Journal of the American Medical Association, 1994. And these are references that my wish and my prayer is that you have this in the back of your pocket. When you go into your doctor's office and next time they do a blood test and they see where your cholesterol levels are, they're going to say to you, I don't like this is too high, that's too high. Here, I want you to start taking a statin drug. I want you to start going on these meds. And what are you going to do? Are you going to be like everybody else, fill the prescription? Not you're afraid of confrontation. You don't want them to dismiss you as a patient, but at the same time, you're going to put your health at risk because you're afraid to ask questions, intelligent questions that make reference to the medical journals that they're supposed to be reading. Yes? Yeah. So please pay attention to this because you never know when you're going to need this. This comes from the Journal of the American Medical Association. They published a trial, compared older adults with high cholesterol, okay, levels above 240. These are high cholesterol adults, to those with normal cholesterol levels below 200. Over the course of 4 years, researchers at Yale measured total cholesterol in almost 1,000 participants. They tracked hospitalizations for heart attack and death rate from heart disease from any other cause. And what they found was no difference. You see that? What does that say? No difference found between the two groups. People with low total cholesterol had as many heart attacks and died just as frequently as those with high cholesterol. Next one, New England Journal of Medicine, another medical journal. Found patients with low hsCRP levels. What is that? The inflammation markers inside your body. What they found was people with low inflammatory markers had fewer heart attacks, no matter what their LDL cholesterol level was, and had more heart attacks if their inflammatory levels were elevated regardless of their cholesterol level. So what they found in this medical study was an imminent heart attack. The greatest predictor was not the cholesterol level, it was what? The inflammation levels. Yeah. So in fact, you could be taking cholesterol-lowering medication, your body be ravaged with inflammation, the blood vessels narrowing with no room left. You could be this close to a heart attack, myocardial infarction, or a stroke, and be on all these different medications, and you could still have that episode because they haven't addressed the cause of the problem. For those of you who work in hospitals, I'm sure that you could substantiate this. The people who have heart attacks, they're sitting in ICUs, they're on all these medications, right or right? They're on all of them. Every single one of them. Cholesterol, blood pressure meds. It doesn't correct the cause of the problem. So the question that you're going to be asking yourself all night is, why do they keep giving us these medications? Why do they have me on this medication? Well, for every brand name drug, what do you think the doctor gets? Kickbacks, yeah. There's the incentive to give the prescription. Now, some of them are doing it with the right intention, but a lot of these studies, especially with brand name drugs, were funded by who? The drug companies, yeah. So they skew the results. Unreliable evidence. And that's what they teach in continuing education and incentivize the doctors. But you have the responsibility of asking your doctors questions. Gee, doc, is lowering my cholesterol with a drug going to prevent a heart attack? Well, yes, studies show that it does. Can you cite me a study or show me a study? Because based on what your medical journals show, the answer is no. So I'm a little confused here. Can you help me better understand this? That would be my ideal situation for you to keep you out of harm's way. Otherwise, we become sheep to the slaughter. Yeah. So statins can cause heart disease. Dr. Okiyama of Nagoya City University collected a wealth of information on cholesterol and statins. 20 published papers to find overwhelming evidence that these drugs accelerate the hardening of the arteries and can cause or worsen what? Heart failure. You're going to find out why. They discovered patients taking cholesterol drugs were more likely to have calcium deposits in their arteries, a phenomenon directly linked to heart attacks. It's because the statin blocks molecule needed for the body to produce a vital K vitamin, which prevents calcification of the arteries. You don't stop and think about this very often, do you? But God didn't make junk. Your body's pretty smart. It knows what to do. There's an amazing intelligence inside of you right now that's keeping your heart beating. Gee, how come you don't have to plug yourself into a wall to keep your heart beating? It's like if you cut your skin or you break a bone, your body's going to what? It's going to heal. Your heart's beating exactly the number of beats per minute it's supposed to be beating right now. Your lungs are breathing. Your stomach's digesting food. Could have ate a Twinkie for lunch and it's making eyeball tissue. Your body is highly intelligent. Yes or yes? Yes. Yeah. So when you mess with that, you take a cocktail of pharmaceuticals and you put it in to disrupt that, and now you've unseated the control of that intelligence, and it cannot do what it's supposed to do. And so that's why there are so many side effects with these. You have to be aware of this. Can't rob from Peter to pay Paul, can you? No. So there's no such thing as side effects of drugs. There's no such thing as drug side effects. Drugs don't have side effects. They just have effects. Every medication that you take will have an effect. And the question becomes, at what point do the effects have more of a negative consequence than the indicated, thing that they wanted you to take it in the first place? Most of the time, yeah. Now there are some instances where we need medications and surgical procedures, and modern medicine is wonderful, especially for saving lives in emergency, crisis, trauma situations. But I'll challenge you to do more and more research, and what you're going to find is that when you start stripping away the layers of everything that you believe to be true, and you get down to the core of it, you start realizing that, my body's pretty darn smart. It doesn't need any help, it just needs no interference. If you came to the point in your life when your health was out of control and your blood pressure's too high, or this is too high, or your blood sugar's out of control, maybe you put on weight, maybe you're not exercising, this and that. Once you start giving the body what it needs, it doesn't need any help, just needs no interference. Okay? Are we talking, these medications, are we talking about nutraceuticals? Are we talking about supplements? Are we talking about pharmaceuticals? Pharmaceuticals are toxic. They are. Because if you're not taking any now, and you start taking 2, 3, 4 of those things, what's going to happen? You're going to get healthy or you're going to get sick. It's going to disrupt normal body function. So what you're doing is you're leveling out all these things, but you're really not creating health. Medications don't create health. What they do is they adjust different levels in your blood and things like that, but they don't create health. What I want to talk to you about tonight is how to create health from the inside out. And so this man came out and he's saying, I can't find any evidence to support people taking statins. And everybody say this together. Patients who are on them should what? Should stop. I'm not telling you to stop. The medical doctors who's doing the research now, who are not funded by the drug companies, they're coming out and telling people to do that. In the United States, you'll find those far and few between, but other countries outside the United States, you'll find a lot of them. They're starting to come out now. Framingham follow-up study. Framingham was one of the largest heart trial the largest heart trial study they did decades ago. And they found a couple of things here that are pretty counterintuitive in terms of our understanding of good health and nutrition and heart disease and things like that. But it was the largest heart study that they've done, and they did some follow-up studies with people, and I want to share some of this. One of them is cholesterol and cognitive performance, 2005 out of Boston University. They looked at 789 men and 1,105 women who were part of the original Framingham group. All were free of dementia and stroke at the beginning of the study, followed for 16 to 18 years. The cognitive tests were performed on the patients every 4 to 6 years, and those tests evaluated memory, learning, concept formation, concentration, attention, abstract reasoning, and organizational abilities. All of the testing that they give for Alzheimer's patients. And what did they find? The people who had the lowest cholesterol levels scored the what? Scored the lowest. And you're going to find out why now. Because cholesterol is a critical brain nutrient. It's essential for the function of all the neurons that are firing in your body, in particular your brain. It's also a building block of all cell membranes. All cell membranes are made of fat and cholesterol. So isn't it interesting that your body does need cholesterol? When we see that C word, outside of cancer, when you hear that C word, that cholesterol word, does that give you a positive or a negative image when you hear that word cholesterol? Negative. Yeah, and it's not. There's nothing bad about cholesterol at all. But we've been brainwashed to believe that. Cholesterol is a very necessary molecule for proper brain and body function. Every cell depends on it. Neurons rely on the delivery of cholesterol from the bloodstream via a specific carrier protein called LDL. Again, how many of you guys heard of HDL and LDL? HDL is the good, LDL is the what? Bad. Is the bad. Who taught us that? The doctors taught us that. But in fact, this is from a neurologist. If you ever want to read a good book, it's called Green Brain. Dr. David Perlmutter. This is what he says. LDL is not a cholesterol molecule at all. It's a low-density lipoprotein. It's a transportation mechanism, basically. There's absolutely nothing bad about LDL. The fundamental role of LDL in the brain is to capture life-giving cholesterol and transport it to the neuron where it performs critically important functions. Now, if the neurons in your brain are not functioning properly, are you more likely or less likely to score well on cognitive tests? Are you more or less likely to remember your wife or your husband's or your kids' names? Are you more or less likely to remember where you put your keys or phone numbers? God forbid you drive yourself somewhere and you forget where you live. Why do I bring this up? Because these are real life instances. This happens to people. And that's when the doctors go back and they take their patients off of cholesterol because they're aware of these side effects. And the side effects, because of the searing pain that people have and the memory loss, is well-known side effects due to cholesterol medications, because this is how it affects you on the level of your brain and every cell, organ, and tissue in your body. It acts as a precursor to important brain-supporting elements like vitamin D and hormones. Sex hormones, such as testosterone and estrogen, need what as a building block? Cholesterol. So if you're on cholesterol-lowering medications and you're eliminating or destroying the precursor to sex hormones like testosterone and estrogen, what do you think that can do to your hormones? Oh yeah. So what do you think we have? $1 billion industry with hormonal balancing, testosterone, low T. What is low T? Well, you see the guy driving the car, good-looking man with a younger lady, and the convertible, and the wind blowing his hair, and you know what he'd like to be doing, but he needs a little help because he's got low what? T, because he's probably on cholesterol medications. That's why. But we don't think about that. We're just like, hey, let me just go and get my T. Pump up my T. Well, get off your freaking medications. How about that? Wow, what a novel idea. Whoa. Hello. Is that just mind-boggling? Or am I the only one? You know, we live in this matrix. Like, we can't see the forest from the trees. This is what's happening. We have diseases that are being created by other drugs. You know, so you've got these drugs, and then you have these side effects. And then people have to deal with these things, which, you know, they look around and like, oh, well, he's got that, he's taken this, she's got that, she's taken that. And it's called disease mongering. They create diseases out of conditions that are, you know, otherwise maybe a normal part of life. You know, for this and that and this and depression. And you know where I'm going with this, guys? You have to stop back and think, you know, hey, I live in the United States where we take a pill for every ill. But if I look at any of these other countries like France, England, Germany, Spain, why do they laugh at Americans for popping pills like candy? You know, they don't have $1 billion testosterone industry going on, do they? They don't have $1 billion antidepressant industry going on there, do they? They don't have 1 million preschoolers on antidepressants in second and third world countries, do they? No. So this is who we are, and you know, you have to extricate yourself from the system and ask questions. Otherwise you become a statistic. So low cholesterol equals early death. And again, I want to try to hammer this just a little bit more, so you leave here with a very clear message that, you know, you may be thinking still, okay, so I don't want to take my cholesterol meds. So I got to get my mother or my father. I got to tell them what I'm learning tonight. And then the question becomes, okay, so what do we need to do to lower our cholesterol? You know, should I be eating better? Should I exercise? What can I do to get my cholesterol down? And the other part of it is learning that that's not the answer, guys. What you're going to learn tonight is what you've been taught over and over and over again. You've been brainwashed that high cholesterol is bad. It's not. That's not a fact. Okay? What you're going to learn tonight is the higher your cholesterol, the less likely you are to die from cancer and a lot of other diseases. In fact, the higher the cholesterol, the greater the likelihood of longevity. Completely counterintuitive. Are you with me right now? Yeah. Okay. Study of 12,500 men and women found the men with the lowest cholesterol levels were the most likely to get what? Cancer. And I'm gonna ask you respectfully, if you do have questions, please write them down on the reverse of your sheet, because you know me, I'll just talk forever. Don't be shy about telling me about my faults, confirming my shortcomings. Yes. Yeah, so I got 40 slides to get there, not that many now, but so please save the questions till after. Come and ask me, and they may be answered, but before we go. So next month you're gonna see these pink ribbons, and it's all for a good cause. It's all for a humanitarian cause. But the reality is that the breast cancer awareness is a marketing campaign by who? Who do you think? The drug companies. Yeah, AstraZeneca, who makes tamoxifen for breast cancer. So obviously the more mammograms, the more likely that more people are going to be prescribed more, cancer. They're going to find cancers, a lot of cancers that may not even, be life-threatening. And there's a lot of controversy on that now. And then of course all the money that's raised, where does that go to? For funding for research for what? More drugs. What about putting money into educational programs to prevent cancer in the first place instead of treating it? So it's a very sensitive subject. That's why I implore you guys to come back here so that we can make sense out of this and apply the best strategies to to leave our community healthier than we found it for the generations to come. President Nixon declared war on cancer 4 decades ago, right? Do we have any fewer cases? No, we've got much, much more. And there are cures for it. There are natural cures, because cancer's not a disease. It's the effect of a sick body. And so there are strategies, and that's what we're going to be discussing. So low cholesterol equals early death. Here's another continuance of that study. Mortality from cancer and infection was significantly lower among the participants in the highest total cholesterol category than any other categories. In fact, when you compare the lowest and the highest cholesterol groups, the risk of dying during the study was reduced by a breathtaking 48% in those who had the highest cholesterol. Holy smokes. Turn to your neighbor, punch him in the shoulder, say, holy smokes. What have I been thinking? What have I been thinking? Trying to get my cholesterol down. You're trying to get your cholesterol down. You're killing yourself. That's what the studies are showing. Leave it alone. Your body knows where the right cholesterol is. If there are high inflammation levels, if your body's ravaged with inflammation, You know, your body's making cholesterol to heal and repair the damage to the cells. That cholesterol level is going to be where it's supposed to be. You can have a 300-400 level cholesterol, but if you have no inflammation in your body, that's where it's supposed to be. And the more you try to take it down and dumb down the intelligence in your body, the more we get to deal with the side effects. Lancet, British Medical Journal, one of the most prestigious medical journals in the world. So researchers, they found from the Netherlands, studied 724 elderly individuals whose average age was 89 years. Okay, average age, 89 years. Followed them for 10 years. That's a pretty good study right there, huh? Each 39-point increase in total cholesterol corresponded to a 15% decrease in mortality risk. In the study, there was absolutely no difference in the risk of dying from coronary artery disease between the high versus the low cholesterol groups. Have you guys seen enough research? Am I beating a dead horse at this point? I mean, you know, my doctor's concerned with my cholesterol level, so where should it be? So for those of you who just want to have some added sense of comfort, so here's an LDL. The Canadian Medical Association Journal published this many years ago. They said the ideal LDL cholesterol is 126. So many of you saw your doctor last week and they said, oh, your LDL is 100, it's too high. Yeah, we got to get that down. Got it down into the 80s, 70s. And so here's what the study showed. The LDL level of 107 is associated with a 33% increased risk of cancer and death. And an LDL level of 87 was associated with a 50% increased risk of cancer. As the LDL goes lower, the risk keeps getting what? Clearly, the lower you take that cholesterol, especially the LDL, the worse everything else gets. So, all right, so we covered the research. Now we're going to cover application. You know, so now what do we do? If this is really all about not doing this and you know what not to do and then what to do instead, how do we apply all this stuff? So obviously exercise is an important component of that. And so you look at the lady on the left, she's 74 years old, and you look at the lady on the right, and she's also what? 74 years old. How could there be such a contrast? Well, it's not age, it's all in your lifestyle. All in your lifestyle. Age is just but a number, right? And your health is really how your body's functioning and how your brain is functioning and your self-image. Luckily, I have my workout partner from when I was 14 sitting back there. Ron, everybody give my friend Ron a big round of applause for getting me started with working out and never stopping.
My mama.
Ahuva. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I look at these people. Last workshop, you saw a guy who was over 100. He was 103, still working out. Owns a gym in India. Okay, so it's all up here. You know, when you stop moving, you start dying. Motion is life. You gotta stay. Keep it moving. It's all in choices. So these are little things that make a big difference. You don't have to go to a gym and lift weights. You just gotta move every day. You gotta move a little bit. Biking, swimming, brisk walking. These days I do a lot of brisk walking. I've told you guys. I love brisk walking. I love moving my arms, moving my legs, and shaking my tail feather. Your body weight is a significant factor in blood pressure levels. By the way, it is appropriate for your systolic blood pressure level to elevate with your age. And so if your blood pressure is not 120 over 80 when you're 50 or 60 years old, it's not supposed to be. Many experts agree that your systolic should be 100 plus your chronological age. And that's because your body is not as efficient in getting the oxygen out to the distal parts of the body. So it needs to elevate the blood pressure. So if your blood pressure is without medication, 140 over 80, 150 over 85, 90, that's still relatively speaking within normal limits. So I wanted to mention that because I know that's in your handouts. As some folks still have questions about that. Losing 10 pounds doubles your chances of normalizing your what? Blood pressure. 22-pound weight loss reduces your heart attack risk by what? 75%. Okay? There are ways to do it. Some ways are faster than others. Obviously, like many of you guys have done the Nutrimos program. You know, some of you guys lost 20, 30, 40 pounds in 40 days. There's technology that can help you do that. But you don't necessarily It's like that's not the only way. You can do it slowly also. If you eat good and you exercise, you can significantly reduce your risk of these diseases. So it's just a matter of discipline. I've always said we're creatures of habit, and we're slave to our habits, for better or worse. If you have bad habits, you're a slave to bad habits. But if you can change those bad habits to good habits, and how long do they say it usually takes to change those? 21 days, 30 days, whatever. By the end of that time, it's a good habit. You've taken a bad habit and you've changed it to a good habit. And now you're on autopilot to success. Because it's really hard to stop that once you start doing something good. I'll give you an example. Like if you exercised, if I challenged you to exercise 5-6 days a week, and what are you going to feel when you're like after exercising? You're going to feel what? Hungry. Some people say sore, hungry. That was not a good question. I'm thinking to myself, you're going to feel great. You have lots of energy, right? How many of you guys want more energy? 30, 40, 50% more energy? Well, when you exercise, you're going to get that, right? And if you get that every day, aren't you going to see a difference in how you interact with people? And how much more patience that you have, and how much more productive you are at work and in your life and your mind, and your whole quality of life is going to change. Do that for a week. Do that for 2 weeks. And then stop. And then see how you feel. How fast are you going to want to go back to working out? I promise you that. So think about that. And again, you don't have to do a whole lot. You work out 3 days a week, go for a brisk walk, 15, 20 minutes a day. You could do swimming, you could do biking. You don't have to kill yourself. Just get moving. And if you want some more recommendations on that, I am happy to help. All right, so right now we're just going to take a moment to recognize some of our fine feathered friends, wonderful patients. My dynamic staff's coming up to help me. And we are going to recognize some folks for, first of all, perfect adjustment attendance. And these are people who never, ever, ever miss adjustments. And they're doing great with their care, and we're really proud of them. And we really appreciate that. We love seeing people get great results. And so as I call their names, please give them a round of applause. Faye Schuler, Victoria Landetta, Lenworth McFarlane, Ernest Carpenter, and Cheryl Jackson. Everybody, give them a big round of applause. Awesome. Crowning them with Elevation Health Medals of Honor. All right, and then we have our award here, our University Core 4 degree. This is coming to 6 or more workshops, presented to Barbara Cooper. Woohoo! Awesome. All right, keep up the great work, guys. We're really, really proud of you. All right, the mind can only absorb what the sea can endure. So I want you to stand up, turn to the person on your right side, put your hands on their shoulders, and I want you to squeeze their shoulders and get all the stress out. Get all that stress out. Good job, good job. All right, do a karate chop. Karate chop. Good, good, good. All right, turn around, love your other neighbor. Very nice. All right, get that stress out. So now we're going to do karate chop also. Very nice. All right. Are you loving your neighbor? Yes. All right, give yourselves a round of applause. All right, heads up. Here comes the shirts. Got one there. One way in the back. All right, so let's continue with, let's talk a little bit about nutrition and making application with that. Here's a clever little cartoon where the doctor is saying to the patient, the high carb diet I put you on 20 years ago gave you diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease. Oops. So it's the high carb, low fat diet, really. All those years they told you to have a low fat diet. That was a bad idea. So let's talk about cholesterol and really where the problems come in. In the last 10 years, new research has shown that it's really oxidized LDL. That's bad. It's not the cholesterol, it's not the LDL, it's what is happening to it. When it becomes oxidized, it's like a rusting process. And when that happens on the inside of your body, it drives inflammation. Hence, we should do everything we can to reduce the risk of LDL oxidation, not necessarily the levels of LDL itself, everything we've been talking about, right? A principal player in the risk of oxidation is higher levels of what? Glucose, which is coming from what? Sugar. So we got to watch those sugars. So if you want to make sure, now again, controlling the sugars may or may not bring your cholesterol levels down, but it will bring the inflammation levels down, and it will not allow the LDL to oxidize to something that causes a danger to your health. Does that make sense? So if you're reducing sugars, removing sugars, you're controlling the inflammation levels, you should be okay and have faith with the fact that your cholesterol is where it's supposed to be, as long as you've got the inflammation under control. Does that make sense? So when you start reading labels, I want you to look here, look at that carbohydrate listing. So if it says 33 grams, the next place you want to look at is sugars. All right? Because now if it says 33 and then the sugars is only like 4 or 5, that's not really a big deal. But when the sugars, the amount of sugars is almost 100% of the carbohydrates, it's all sugar. And it's simple sugars that are going to enter your bloodstream very quickly, cause insulin to go up, turn your body into storing fat, program your body to storing fat instead of burning it, and then also starting to physically modify the LDL and causing the oxidation process and driving inflammation at the same time. So what causes that? Everything you see here. Orange juice, gee, I thought orange juice was healthy. Really? An orange may be healthy. One of them, slice it up and eat it. But how many oranges does it take to make a glass of orange juice? Have you ever done that? Yeah, like 8, 9, 10. Has anybody ever sat down and ate 10 oranges? You know that's not good for you. It's too much what? Too much sugar. Too much of a good thing is not a good thing. We know that's no good, that's no good, that's no good. Some of these they're deceiving, like Nutri-Grain, or you see these, you see the guy with the Quaker oats, the Quaker man, right? And we've got that stamped on our conscience of like, hey, this is a good quality product. That's the oatmeal man, right? And we look at these things, and then you turn it over, and the label's the same thing. Not only is it loaded with sugar, it's loaded with bad fats, trans fats. So we got to learn how to read the labels, otherwise you're not controlling the inflammation. And then, what's lurking in here, you wouldn't necessarily think, but high fructose corn syrup and a lot of these things. What are our kids eating? And then we look at this stuff, like, you would have never thought rice, potatoes, bread, pasta. But the reality is that these things are highly refined today. They enter your bloodstream very, very rapidly. And again, when insulin goes up, that's what's causing the oxidation process. So, there's a happy medium to this, just knowing the good, the bad, and the ugly. Anything, the whiter it is, food-wise, the worse it is for you. And so, as you go through the spectrum here, if you can't completely eliminate these foods from your diet and you have a craving, or you have to have a cheat day, at least, if your cheat day, you want to have spaghetti and meatballs, at least make it vegetable-based, tomato, basil, or spinach pasta, because the white pasta has no nutritional value, and it does much more harm than good. I'm not saying you can't ever have it, but I just want you to understand the way it affects your body. Obviously, if it's vegetable-based, it's going to be much healthier for you. But best case scenario, you want to eliminate all of these. We look at those breads, and again, what about wheat bread, rye bread? Some of these grains are healthy. They trigger inflammation. They do. Are some grains healthier than others? Yes. But do all grains trigger inflammation? Yes. Yes. So ideally, you eliminate all of it. If you want to have a cheat day here and there, that's fine. But on a day-to-day basis, if you want to reduce pain, reduce inflammation, get your cholesterol where it's supposed to be, your blood pressure, your weight under control, this is what has to be attacked first and foremost. Cardiologists, neurologists, rethinking the illness. Unbridled what? Inflammation is rampant in Western cultures. Leading scientific research shows that it's a fundamental cause of early death associated with coronary artery disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, virtually every other chronic disease. Any disease that you'll ever be medicated for or die early from is because of one thing and one thing only. What's it called? Inflammation. Say it again. Inflammation. What causes inflammation? Sugar. And one more other thing. What else? Sugar, which comes from carbohydrates, but it's sugar and bad fats and toxins. Yep, and toxins. So when you look at the arteries of people, again, if their arteries are inflamed, doesn't matter if you're taking a statin drug, still going to be closed off. You could be taking a couple of statins, a couple of different medications. If your arteries look like this, you're still getting a heart attack. And that's who the people are in the hospitals right now. If your arteries are like this, if you have no inflammation at all, can your cholesterol levels be at 300, 350? Yes. Is there any risk for a heart attack at that point? No, not if there's no inflammation. And so the leading researchers are trying to come out and demonstrate the fact, because all the research is there, they're trying to do this very eloquently without losing their license, because it goes completely against the grain. So you need fat, all right? You can't not have fat. You have to have some fat, and you have to have a lot of good fat. And you got to find out where the bad fats are, eliminate them, and then replace them with the good fats. So we know the bad fats are the margarines, the trans fats, and a lot of these other oils that you wouldn't necessarily know or think about. Canola oil. Wow, I thought canola oil was healthy. It's partially hydrogenated. Corn oil, vegetable oil, anything that says vegetable oil, partially hydrogenated. Soybean oil, cottonseed oil, all these margarines and butters, you want to get them out and keep them out, and don't give them to your neighbor either, because you don't want to hurt your neighbor. They're bad, they're poison, They're really bad. It clogs up your arteries, drives inflammation. You gotta remember, this is not God-made food, this is man-made food, right? I was teaching the kids in Awana last Wednesday at church. I took a thing of Pop-Tarts, and I had an orange. And I said, okay, this is food by God, this is food by man. Who made your body? God did. Okay, what do you think belongs in the body? God made your body, what goes in the body? The food he made, right? Food by God goes in the body by God. Do Pop-Tarts go in the body by God? It's like, they used to see, they got it, you know? And it's kind of the same thing here. You know, you look at this stuff it's man-made, you know? If it's in a package, that means it's got hydrogenated fats for shelf life. Twinkies, McDonald's hamburgers, go put them in your garage, come back 3 years later, they're still gonna look the same. They don't deteriorate. They don't deteriorate. These hydrogenated oils, they're like synthetic motor oil. You know how you get double the life out of it? It's the same thing. And they don't break down in your body. They cause chaos, havoc, trigger inflammation, causes cancer to spread. Not good. You got to get that stuff out. You got to stand guard at the gate of what crosses the threshold of your lips, of your mouth. But you want to have a ton of this stuff, because these are the fats that help you burn fat. These are the fats that help you help your body repair and regenerate new healthy cells in every organ, cell, and tissue in your brain. These are the good fats that will reduce your risk of Alzheimer's, reduce your risk of Parkinson's, reduce your risk of cancer, diabetes, a heart attack. These are the good fats that calm inflammation. They're like fire extinguishers. They're putting the fire out constantly. So the more of these good fats that you get in should be with every meal. You know, in the morning you should have good fats. You should have coconut milk, almond butter. In the afternoon for lunch you should be having extra virgin olive oil. I'm not talking to Nutrimos patients. You guys can't do this until it's after the 40 days. After the 40 days. But I'm giving you food for thought after the 40 days. Because you're going to have trouble hitting your 1,500, 2,000 calories a day if you don't get a ton of these fats in. That's where your biggest bang for the buck is, and that's what will help stoke your metabolism and keep your body in fat burning. Okay, when you don't have these good fats, your metabolism slows down, and you start storing fat instead of burning it. Does that make sense? So every day you should be having these fats. So just a contrast. I know some of you guys have seen this before, but again, if you stick to the paleo basics, which is, grass-fed meats, fatty nuts, fatty fish, eggs, low-sugar fruits, vegetables, you're on the right path. All right? Now, butter is over here. I'm not a big fan of dairy because it's acidic, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you had a little piece of cheese every once in a while. And butter is something that I have every single day. So I would say take that butter and put it over on this side, and you've got a good strategy for fat burning and good healthy fats for every single meal. I'm always putting butter on my vegetables. You know, I'll have a lot of extra virgin olive oil for lunch on my salad. At night, I dump a bunch of butter on my vegetables. I put butter in my coffee. Sometimes I'll put... Did I say something wrong? What? Butter in the coffee? You do coconut oil in the coffee? So get creative with it, guys. Get creative with it. So if you have any questions, come see me at the end. So if you guys aren't doing the smoothies for breakfast yet, again, Nutrimost post 40 days. Okay, this is where you can get a lot of great calories, stoke your metabolism. You know, just flip the fat burning switch first thing in the morning. Simple solution, very, very economical, cost effective. This will actually save you money if this is your breakfast every single day. So every day after my workout, come in the kitchen. I got my 2 scoops of this or the Metaclear, whichever. It's the same. I mean, you know, it's pretty much the same thing. They both have a multivitamin spectrum. The Metaclear has more antioxidants and a low level detox component to it. That's why I like it. But this is a daily shake which gives you all your vitamins, very low in sugar, and it's a hypoallergenic pea and rice protein. So you get 2 scoops in there, got a lot of protein, and then all you need is low sugar fruits. You can have like berries, blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, a little bit of that, just a handful of fruit there, maybe a Granny Smith apple if you want, and then 1 or 2 tablespoons of almond butter. And what I mix the shake with is just personally, this is what I do. I mean, I do a little bit of water just to dilute it, and then I'll pour the rest coconut milk in. And you can get coconut milk, you know, you can get it in the carton, but it's not as good and healthy for you as the can. The can is the healthiest one. And so you just need a little bit from that can because it's very, very concentrated. But you get all those good fats in there, and you won't be hungry for another 3-4 hours. Your energy levels will just keep going like this, and it'll help stoke your metabolism and keep your weight down. And super easy on the pocketbook too. So, you know, as opposed to doing the oatmeal or the Pop-Tarts or the croissants or the bagels or the cereal, which is all what? Grains, which is driving what? Inflammation. Very good. So again, I'm trying to help you make application with this. This is what real life looks like, or it should look like. They don't call this the breakfast of champions for nothing. And actually, even if it's not a smoothie, you don't have to make a smoothie. And you know, like you can have a small plate of fruit, 2 scoops of almond butter, and then just take your 2 scoops of the shake and put it in your coconut milk and mix it up. Slug that, and then eat your fruit and it's all going down the same hatch. It doesn't matter. And the same thing with this for lunch, you could do a green drink. You know, you make this with kale, avocado, spinach. You can get very creative. There's a lot of different recipes available for that. George Mann, researcher with the Framingham Heart Study. We talked about this earlier. The largest heart trial study ever conducted. He said that the diet heart hypothesis that suggests that a high intake of fat or cholesterol causes heart disease has been repeatedly shown to be what? Wrong. And yet, for complicated reasons of pride, profit, prejudice, namely the food industry, and the hypothesis continues to be exploited by scientists, fundraising enterprise, food companies, and even governmental agencies, the public is being deceived by the greatest health scam of the century. So they said when you eat bacon and eggs and butter, they said don't do that because it's high in what? Cholesterol. And so if you eat foods that are high in cholesterol, what does that do to your blood cholesterol? Yeah? You know what? There's no research to prove that at all. No research. In fact, what you're going to learn now is it's just the opposite. The people who have the highest saturated fat intake have the lowest cholesterol. So in 2010, the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, Dr. Walter Willett, Harvard University professor, he evaluated 21 previous medical reports involving more than 340,000 subjects, followed by a period of 5 to 23 years, concluded that the intake of saturated fat was not associated with any increased risk of heart disease, stroke, or cardiovascular disease. This doctor followed up from a medical school, studied in comparison the lowest to the highest consumption of saturated fat. The actual risk for coronary heart disease was 19% lower in the group consuming the what? Highest amount of saturated fat. So the studies that they're showing is that the more saturated fat the people ate, the what? The lower their blood cholesterol and the lower their risk of heart disease. Analyzing the data from the 1992 Framingham study, they found the more saturated fat people ate, the lower their serum cholesterol. Raise your hand if you heard the opposite was true. Where did we learn that from? Commercials, doctors. It's junk science. It's not true. So the good news is,
Bacon and eggs.
enjoy your bacon, enjoy your eggs, enjoy your steak. Grass-fed, of course. Because here's what it boils down to. The principal fat in red meat, eggs, and bacon is not saturated fat, but the very same monounsaturated fat as you find in olive oil. Raise your hand if olive oil is healthy. You know that, right? Now you just learned something about a T-bone, a Houston's. Yeah, good. You know, the thing is, I would say enjoy if you go to Houston's or, any of these steak places, I wouldn't do it that often. Longhorns, because it's grain-fed. So that triggers inflammation. But if you can have, like we had, I threw on the grill on Saturday, my wife got ribeyes that were grass-fed. So I feel a little better about that when I eat that. Steak, 51% of the fat is monounsaturated fat. Okay, more than half the fat in the steak is the same fat that you find in olive oil. Did you know that? No. Turn to your neighbor and say, wow. Wow. Turn to your other neighbor and say, that's awesome. Saturated fat constitutes 45% of the total fat, but a third of that is stearic acid, which will increase HDL, your good cholesterol, while having no effect on the LDL. So here's what real life should look like. Porterhouse steak in lieu of the bread or potatoes can actually decrease risk of heart disease. So you got your Brussels sprouts or broccoli or your greens and a steak, and you're fine. And you get on the scale the next day after you have a meal like that, and I guarantee you it will drop a good pound or a pound and a half. I guarantee you. Ask me how I know, because that's what I do and that's what I see time and time again. So you can enjoy it. Just stay away from the bread. When you mix those carbs, the bread, the potato, and the meat, what do you get? Expansion. You get gassy, you get blown up. Your body stores all that as fat. You can't get away with that. But you can enjoy the things that you like. You just have to have the right combination. Does that make sense? Okay. So the three supplements that we have tonight are used in conjunction to amplify the effect. They're synergistic, which means you will have the most heart-healthy effect when you take all three together. And the first one is the Q-Best, because CoQ10 is a necessary molecule for normal heart function. In particular, if you're taking statin meds or cholesterol meds, it strips the CoQ10 from your heart. So if you're taking a statin med or cholesterol and you're not taking CoQ10, you're in danger. And even the medical doctors usually recommend that for their patients. But obviously the form that we have is the crystal-free form, which is the highest availability, bioavailability, and the purest form, which means you get the best clinical results. Perfusia SR, or the Perfusia Plus, has something called L-arginine, which is a precursor for nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is something that gets released inside the smooth muscle in the walls of the heart. And when that happens, it does something called vasodilation. It opens up the arteries. And when that happens, it helps with atherosclerosis if the arteries are clogged. If you have inflammation, it helps with that. And it also helps with your blood pressure. So very, very heart-healthy supplement. And then you have your super EPA and the EPA DHA, very, very important for inflammation. And so these are fish oil caps without the fish oil taste or the fish oil burping. Fish oils are great for brain function, heart function, and in particular, strongly, strongly anti-inflammatory. So again, these three supplements work synergistically. When you take them all together, you get the best effect. There's another one that we have called Mariva, which I didn't talk about tonight, but there's more peer review backed literature, evidence-based, showing this is the most potent anti-inflammatory natural substance that you could take. It's not only a natural anti-inflammatory, stops inflammation, but it prevents cancer from spreading. It prevents the mutation of cancer cells. So I take a couple of those every day, and it's definitely appropriate for tonight's topic. So when you get anything that's mentioned tonight as far as the supplement suite, whether you get this with or without the Mariva, or the Complete Shake or the MetaClear, any of that we talked about tonight is 20% off. It's the only time that we ever give discounts on the supplements, only because we want to incentivize you to make application with what you've learned tonight. We have limited quantities. If we run out, it takes a few weeks to get them back in. But again, we want to incentivize you to take advantage of that. And the offer is only good for tonight. So at the end, just tell them if you need any of that stuff, and they'll tell you how everything works. Now, there's another way you could save money. How many of you guys would agree you learned something life-changing tonight? Keep your hands up if you believe that everybody deserves to learn this information. Yeah, okay. So, I appreciate that. So, if you write a review on the handout that we got, Rate MDs, people read reviews, and you could directly affect people, influencing them to come into this office and be exposed to this information, I consider you a lifesaver and a part of our mission, and I really appreciate that. And in return for that, we give you a 25% discount off of any supplement anytime. So even if you don't do anything tonight, you just come in, show us, give us a screenshot, show us you did the review, and they'll give you the coupon on the spot. The other thing that we're doing in the community this month and next month is we're doing lunch and learn in-service programs where we go into businesses, small and large, and we bring a healthy lunch and a healthy message. And Angie, you were there when I came to your school, and we did a stress talk on a day when they were very stressed out. Yeah, and it was right before school started. And was that life-changing? I don't know who had more fun, you guys or me. It was awesome. I love seeing the light bulbs go off. I love getting out there. I don't charge for it because like when I'm connected with you guys, I know that's my mission, that's my calling. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. So my practice is not inside these four walls, it's out there. And if you invite me to your place of work or worship, you're not just saving one person at a time, you're saving exponentially, Lord knows how many lives. And if you would like me to do that, I donate my time week in and week out. If it's in a place of work, you've got a bunch of people, we'll bring lunch. And a lot of companies are doing this. You have to do this. Some of them are OSHA safety standards. You have to, provide wellness options for your employees. And this is what we do. I'm part of a network of doctors across the country that donate their time to make a change, to show people how to be proactive. How are we going to change healthcare? You think it's going to be the next presidential candidate? Doubt it. So people are waiting for us to show up and give them the answers. And I'm asking you if you'd be kind enough and gracious enough to help us make that connection. And Lucy, can you stand up for me? Lucy, everybody say hello to Lucy. Hello. Lucy and Deborah are instrumental in getting those events coordinated. So you can talk to them tonight or talk to me, and we'll make sure it gets done. Okay, so whether it's a Heart Smart Nutrition or cancer prevention or stress management, it doesn't matter. And we can do it in 10 minutes, a little one, or we could do it 30 minutes, and we bring lunch, and it's awesome. So please keep that in mind. All right, so one more thing, and then we'll be finished here in about 5 minutes. I'm ahead of schedule. You're doing good. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You hear that, Mary?
High blood pressure can be a pain in the neck. Now some doctors are trying to find out whether a chiropractic adjustment might not only straighten your spine, but also help hypertension.
Healthcare reporter Sylvia Perez here to explain. Sylvia? Kathy and Ron, many people with high blood pressure would like to find a way to avoid taking medication. A trip to the chiropractor may seem like an unlikely alternative, but an intriguing study is showing that a special kind of neck adjustment is helping some patients lower their blood pressure without drugs.
What
makes your blood pressure boil? Stress? Too much salt? Lack of exercise? Bad genes? No one's really sure about the cause, but here's something new to consider that might raise the eyebrows of some conventional doctors. Could it be an issue with the top of your spine?
They took x-rays and showed me that my neck was out of alignment.
Denise Neiman went to a specific chiropractor for pain in her neck. After having a special adjustment, that pain was gone, and so was something else.
My blood pressure dropped tremendously.
Other patients were reporting the same positive but surprising side effect. Dr. George Backrus, the hypertension expert at the University of Chicago Medical Center, decided to find out if there really was some kind of connection.
We designed a double-blind study to really look and see if, in fact, this procedure was affecting blood pressure.
25 patients got the real adjustment, 25 others got a fake adjustment. The result published in the Journal of Human Hypertension found those patients who got the real thing saw their blood pressure drop dramatically, an average of 17 points. That's equivalent to giving patients 2 different blood pressure medications at once.
So it's pretty significant.
Your upper body's off to the left 2 degrees.
So why would straightening the top of the spine affect blood pressure?
It came completely back to center.
Marshall Dickholt Sr. and Jr. say they know why. The father and son chiropractors believe this area of the spine, called the C1 vertebra, or atlas, operates as the fuse box to the body. If it's twisted and out of whack, arteries and nerves at the base of the brain might get compressed, and that could affect blood flow and nerve signals.
It affects your autonomic, not only your central nervous system, but your autonomic nervous system. That means it can affect every organ of your body.
So did you know that? So one top bone in the neck can override almost every neurological function in your body. They call it the atlas bone because, just like in Greek mythology, it sits right up under the skull. There's no disc above or below it. It's held together by ligaments. And when you have car accidents and slips and falls, sleeping on your stomach, sports injuries, it causes damage to those ligaments and instability, and it can shift the bone out of alignment. My dad had migraine headaches for 40 years because he dove into a lake and smashed his head into a cast iron tub, and he had the bone jamming into his brainstem, and it was altering the blood supply because the artery runs through the side of the bone. With him, it wasn't his blood pressure. He always had low blood pressure, but he had massive migraine headaches, and it wasn't until I came home from chiropractic school and I found that and I adjusted it, just practicing on him, and his headache was gone in 3 minutes, and that was 30 years ago. How many headaches has he had since that one adjustment? None, because I was the first doctor out of all the doctors that he went to, no matter how many medications he took, that found and corrected the cause. So you watched a clip where they found the cause of high blood pressure in all those patients. And in the patients where that actually was the cause of their blood pressure, it dropped. You saw that by 17 points, yeah. But you know, there are other causes for high blood pressure, but I'll tell you what, I have yet to meet a person who's lived their whole life and had a perfect spine. Okay, so it's pretty much almost everyone needs some level of check or work. But if you look at, he talked about the circuit breaker, right? And that's really what this is. The nerves branch off the spine and they go to all the different organs. And it just so happens up there in the top where that arrow is, the effects of misalignment, putting pressure on the brainstem, altering the blood supply, not only causes high blood pressure, it causes headaches, nervousness, insomnia, head colds because it controls your immune system also, nervousness, anxiety, forgetfulness, tiredness, dizziness, sinus trouble, allergies. You can go down the line and find literally every human condition, which most people just take drugs for, but yet that could be where it's coming from. The nerves exit between the bones in the back, and when the spine shifts out of alignment, it puts pressure on the nerves. And you don't necessarily feel that. It's like standing on a garden hose, silently choking off vital nerve supply or the life supply to the organs. That's why you get painful irregular periods, inability to get pregnant, impotence, enlarged prostate, bladder problems, constipation, colitis, diabetes. Any disease known to mankind can be created by subluxation, which is blockage of the nerve supply, disconnecting the brain from controlling it properly. The brain can control every cell, organ, and tissue through that spinal cord, and the nerves are just an extension of that. You can see right here, that's the autonomic nervous system. So when should we be keeping these nerve channels open? Some of the time or all the time? All the time. And if subluxations are painless initially, how do you know if those nerve channels are open or they're shut? You don't. I mean, if you're already feeling pain, if you're already having symptoms, fatigue, tiredness, insomnia, poor sleep, colds, flus, pain, numbness, high blood pressure, headaches, if you've got symptoms, that's a pretty good indication of something not being right. And you can treat the effect, or you can look for the cause, the source, and the root, like going back to the circuit breaker. If you're an electrician, you wouldn't be going around changing light bulbs until you check the what? The circuit breaker, yeah. And that's basically what I am. I'm an electrician of the nervous system, just making sure that your power is what? On, yeah. How many of you guys want your power on? At 100%, yeah. So if we had a rheostat switch, right, and you could read like with half of the light on, but if somebody comes in and takes that rheostat switch and just cranks it up at 100%, you're like, oh wow, what a difference, you know? So that's what happens when you get under chiropractic care. You have more energy, your organs are functioning, your body vibrates at a higher level, your body's functioning and healing better than it ever has. And as that happens, a lot of those symptoms go away. But we don't just go by how you're feeling, we go by how your body's functioning. That's why we use testing. You know, we'll do thermography. This is NASA space technology. I'm talking to the guests right now. If you don't have a chiropractor, you have not had your nerve system checked, this is where we begin. We do an evaluation, range of motion, posture, palpation, and we do thermography, which tells us, it literally pinpoints where the nerve interference is. And we may be able to find out why your back hurts, or why you have frequent urination, or why you have a thyroid problem. And then, you know, if it gets corrected, we should see a scan clear out like that. And so normally, to have the evaluation done with the range of motion, the posture, the palpation, the scan, even x-rays, normally it's somewhere between $300, $400, $500. As a Get Acquainted offer for the guests only tonight, we're doing that for only $40. The offer ends tonight when the workshop is over. So if you're a guest, who are we seeing? Dr. Maurice, raise your hand. Okay, who are the guests here tonight? Who are the guests? Raise your hand if you're a guest. Okay, so make sure you go ahead and see Dr. Maurice before you leave so that he can give that gift to you. All right, and then last but not least, make sure you get credit for today's workshop. If you come to 6 or more workshops, get 10% off of your resign, your maintenance plan, your maintenance program. Get on the Core Heart Smart Nutrition workshops, and then don't forget next month for our cancer prevention workshop. Get that dialed in. Bring a friend. Let us know if you'd like to come to your place of work or worship, so we can get this information out to the community. And for those of you guys who are guests, go ahead and see Dr. Maurice so we can get you scheduled. Thank you so much for being here, guys, tonight. I love and appreciate you. If you have any questions, come see me. God bless you.